Coming up on Mountain News this morning, early voting stations open today as the primary in the Commonwealth begins. And anti-Semitism is at an all-time high in America, with it even reaching universities here in Kentucky.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning, I'm Madison Carmouche. We're at 6:30 this morning, so let's send it over to meteorologist Tim Drawbridge for a look at your forecast.
Good morning, Madison. Good morning, everyone. Low clouds and fog an issue across the region this morning. We're at 61 outside our door here at the WYMT, and temperature-wise, it's less than a mile again at the London Corbin Airport, 4 miles now at Jackson, back up to 2.5 at Moorhead, $1.25 at Pikeville, and pea soup thickness as you cross the state line over toward West Virginia. 60 to 65 for a lot of us here as we make our way through the 6:30 half hour. And the planner as we head through today, showing icons that are precipitating. At this point, there could be a little drizzle in spots. Otherwise, it's the fog that's a concern this morning. We all turn partly sunny as we head through your Thursday, and a high today later in Hazard up to 78. More about the First Alert 7-day forecast and when our, real rain chances come back to play. We'll explain as we make our way through this half hour. Madison.
All right, Tim, thank you. Former President Donald Trump is back in New York after a stop in Lexington last night. Kelly and Joe Kraft hosted a private fundraising event for the Republican candidate. He landed in central Kentucky just before 5. Some fans gathered to try and welcome him. UK political science professor Dr. Stephen Voss says in the coming weeks, trips like this will be less common.
As the real election kicks in, the candidates are going to be forced more and more to travel to the battleground states. If Donald Trump is ever in danger of losing Kentucky, he's not going to get anywhere near the presidency anyway.
The Kentucky Democratic Party posted on social media about Trump's visit. It says in part, quote, "Indictments don't come cheap," and Trump is hoping that donors can foot the bill for his legal fees. His criminal trial continues today. He denies all wrongdoing. Polling locations across the Commonwealth will open today for early voting in this year's primary election. Kelsey Soto caught up with Secretary of State Michael Adams to talk about turnout.
You don't have to wait until Tuesday to cast your ballot in this year's primary election. For 3 days, you can visit a polling precinct near you and cast your vote early. Historically, primaries don't yield the best turnout in Kentucky.
We had about 18,900 requests for absentee ballots. That tracks almost exactly what we saw a year ago when our overall turnout was 14.5%. So I'm expecting about the same, about 15%.
Secretary of State Michael Adams has been in office since 2020, so he's got a few elections under his belt. He says he's been studying demographics in the Bluegrass state.
It's hard to get young voters to turn out in primaries. It's hard to get them to turn out ever, but they tend to have a better turnout in a general election, and that's especially true in a presidential election.
This year, all 100 State House of Representative seats and 19 Senate seats are up for the taking. 16% of legislative races will basically be decided in the primary because there's no challenger in the other party.
The number one reason people tell me that they don't vote is not that they're suppressed, it's that they just don't know enough about the candidates and about the offices.
Adams says he's also been working with AARP and the YMCA to bring awareness to the importance of elections and help with their quest to recruit more volunteers.
We're going to have to find younger blood at some point and get them working the polls because most of our poll workers are senior citizens, and over time they're going to age out, they're going to retire, and we have to have their kids and grandkids stepping up.
In Frankfort, Kelsey Soto, WKYT.
We have seen numerous pro-Palestinian protests take place on college campuses, and along with that, we've seen reports of anti-Semitism. There are confronting reports of anti-Semitism within universities across the state. The Anti-Defamation League says there have been at least 6 reports of anti-Semitism across Kentucky's college campuses. Representatives fostered conversations about Jewish life and building interfaith communities across campus.
There's a little bit of buyer beware with some of these resources, but I think as long as people are level-headed, the resources are there to make assessments. And we're not going to get there just by enforcing rules. We're going to get there through education and relationships.
Those with Hillel say the silver lining in this situation is that since there aren't as many cases of anti-Semitism across Kentucky campuses, it will be easier to implement these tips among students. 2 people are behind bars in Powell County charged with abuse and animal cruelty. The Powell County Sheriff's Office says they arrested Lynetta Daniels and Matthew Bowen after a welfare check at their home. They say they found extremely poor living conditions and recovered 24 animals, most of which were malnourished. Daniels and Bowen are charged with criminal abuse and cruelty to animals. A Floyd County woman has been indicted on procuring and promoting a minor by electronic means. 20-year-old Darian Huff was indicted by a Floyd County grand jury last week after a lengthy investigation in which forensic evidence was obtained from electronic devices along with other information. Huff turned herself into Floyd County Sheriff's Office. In a statement from the Sheriff's Office, Huff was employed by Floyd County Schools at the time of the investigation. A murder trial against a former Leslie County Sheriff's deputy is ongoing. Yesterday was the 3rd day of proceedings for the 2018 murder of Tyler North. Jeremy Lewis is charged with murder, evidence tampering, and corpse abuse. North went missing in 2018. His remains were found 2 years later and identified in 2022. North's ex-wife and Lewis's girlfriend, Michelle North, is also charged with murder in the case. Officials say a verdict will not be reached until next week. 4 people have been arrested in connection with a stolen truck case out of Laurel County. 45-year-old Terry Brandon Browning, 36-year-old Margie Bowling, 40-year-old Bridget Murray, and 45-year-old Stephen Couch were arrested at a home near Philpott Road. Police made the arrest after they received information regarding the whereabouts of a 1988 Chevy pickup truck. Police were able to recover the stolen truck. We also have an update regarding a story we first told you about on Monday. The 4 dogs that were captured after a child was attacked in Whitley have been put down. The dogs' bodies were sent to Frankfort for further testing. The attack happened at a home on Johnny Hollow Road in Rockholds. The boy had to be flown to a hospital. According to officials, the injured child is still recovering and is stable. More than $1.5 million in funding has been approved to support workforce development in the Commonwealth. Governor Andy Beshear made the announcement on Wednesday morning. The funding, approved through the Bluegrass State Skills Corporation, will be used to assist with training and development of nearly 5,000 Kentuckians. This will include nearly 300 trainees at Cumberland Cooperative in East Bernstadt and Laurel County. Monday marked the beginning of National Police Week. This week is the time where the community gives thanks to our local law enforcement for protecting and serving us. Officials talked about what it means to serve their communities.
Yeah, it is a very thankless job. We, myself and I know my co-workers and other police officers across the state, they really do appreciate that, and it does mean a lot to us when people give us that recognition that it's not deserved. Well, we don't expect it, but we do appreciate it.
National Police Week ends this Sunday, so take the time to show our local law enforcement what they mean to us.
And a good Thursday to you. Visibility an issue again this morning. It's locally dense too. Look over toward Logan. Pea soup thickness, $1.25 at Pikeville. Visibility a mile at the London Corbin Airport. Back up to 3 miles. You make way toward Moorhead. Temperature-wise, 60 to 65. Across the Commonwealth here at about 6:40 on your Thursday morning, 55 to near 60s. You make way into the high terrain of western portions of Virginia. Travel weather forecast for today. reflects the opportunity for the locally dense fog this morning. Otherwise, we turn partly sunny as we head for the afternoon. The high today in Hazard up to 78. A look ahead through the weekend. First Alert 7-day forecast in just a few moments. Madison?
Thanks, Tim, and thank you for joining us. The time is now 6:39. Still to come on Mountain News this morning. Another bridge partially collapses, this time after a barge crashes into it.